And good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this edition here of the Mount of Steel podcast with me, Charles Prodigy Ritchie, as we're getting ready to the countdown, which we are less than 4 hours away. Sunday night showdown about to go down between the Steelers and the Buffalo Bills at Heinz Field tonight at 7:20 p.m. Central Standard Time, only on NBC Sports as we get ready to move along here. But first, a little bit of good news along the way to start off with. The Steelers, right now, as I mentioned in the rundown here, as everyone could see right now, the Pittsburgh Steelers, for right now, the Tennessee Titans lose to the Houston Texans at home in Tennessee. That game goes foul 24-21 right now. And if everyone may recap, the Pittsburgh Steelers, remember going into that game, one of the key tiebreakers that the Steelers had over the Tennessee Titans, reason why they're edging them out is due to AFC conference record. Buffalo Bills do got an opportunity to clinch a playoff spot from what I'm understanding tonight, if I'm not mistaken. So they got 3 games left to go as well. Each team, as a matter of fact. And no, I don't think they got a chance to wrap it up tonight, but we'll see. But anyway, like I said, the Steelers are right now. Remember, they are 6-3 versus the Titans, which by the way, right now, if we were to update that tiebreaker, losing to the Houston Texans, that's the very first of their head-to-head matchups. They dropped to 6-5. So check this out. So the Steelers are able to win tonight. They would not only go to 7-3 in the AFC conference record. I believe from looking at everything, if I'm not mistaken, they would have a chance to do a win and they're in next week if they beat the New York Jets. Because what could happen is you would go at 8-3 at that point in time, putting a lot more pressure on the Titans. And the Steelers would not. The worst they could do is just drop to 8-4 for the season, while the Titans would drop to at that point. I mean, if they're able to win their next 2 games, they would just be 8-5. Steelers would clearly have the advantage in that contest when you really look at it. So that's some good news right there. If you really look at everything, I mean, so the Steelers, I think that, so that if I'm not mistaken, I think that's one of the biggest key things right there. So right now I got Ham Skillet right now. Josh Allen leads quarterback in fumbles. All we got to do is get to him. That's definitely true. And I think that's one of the keys I'm going to get to in a little bit later on. Thanks, Ham. Appreciate you joining the Mount of Steel podcast right now. As you can see, I'm going to make it another quick one because I'm about ready to head out towards the game in just a moment, watch at a bar. I usually watch at Durgan's Tavern. Once again, if anyone is ever around in the Chicagoland area or on the north side at Wrigleyville or Lincoln Park, make sure to hit up Durgan's Tavern. That is at Diversity and Holster right there. Your number one source right there, if you ask me, to watch any Steelers games throughout the season right there. That's a dedicated Steeler bar. You also got some Penguins hockey playing throughout the season, as well as Pirates baseball. I know Pirates baseball is a little bit of another story right now with their issues going on with trying to get everything up and coming on the baseball organization, trying to spend some money here. But that's another topic for another day. But for right now, let's get some things real quickly leading into this game. As we mentioned, one of the biggest concerns, I think, tonight, I mean, not just Juju Smith-Schuster, but you're also going to be having Vance McDonald, who is going to be ruled out with a concussion. He was in concussion protocol. He was only limited on Thursday. It was the only type of practice he got. Remember, just in case anyone's ever wondering how the concussion protocol works, it's very simple. It basically runs down like this in a 5-step process. Usually, you start off the player. They'll ask to get a little bit of rest real quick, get as much rest as they need. Then the next day, they'll check and see how they're doing. If they're getting past the first stage of feeling no symptoms as they're getting rest, they'll work them up into a little bit of practice. And if they make it through that, they'll pick up the practice a little bit more gradually the following day. They clear that step. They get a little bit of practice, but with no one around them. So it's like isolated practice by themselves. And last but not least, they just got to get cleared by a couple independent physicians right there as we look at it. So that's where the problem is right now. Remember, as we took a look at it, remember, with Vance McDonald. Like I said, he was limited on Wednesday and on Friday. And so I think that's going to be a huge loss right there for this team. I mean, I like what everyone's been doing as far as like with Deontay Johnson, everyone trying to help out. You also got Juju Smith-Schuster. I don't want to keep pushing the well too often. Like I said, I think the Steelers are right now, I mean, to their credit, I mean, not having Juju Smith-Schuster in the lineup, I mean, it's pretty impressive. Don't get me wrong, but I don't want to keep going to the well too often. And I love the job that Mike Tomlin has been asking everybody to step up. But he is still one of the productive receivers when on his team and when playing. That you cannot deny at the end of the day. I just feel like right now when you look at it, I mean their record clearly without Juju Smith Schuster in the lineup. I mean they've been undefeated so far. I mean, all the games that he's been out, we flash back to 2 years ago. What was the very first game against Green Bay Packers? He missed that game. That was a Sunday night game. The Steelers did win that one by a field goal. Well, Aaron Rodgers, quarterback for Green Bay. Then, of course, he had to serve some punishment after laying the hit on Vontaze Burfict, which is payback to Antonio Brown getting concussed a few years ago in the playoffs. He had to miss that game. And they actually ended up clinching the division against the Ravens, and then against the Bengals and Browns and Cardinals right now. So 5-0 so far right there. Like I said, I don't want to keep pushing the well too often on this, but at the same time too, I really do look at it this way. It's just, like I said, I look at a guy like Mike Tomlin. And I remember Brian DeArlo was one of the guys too who was also reinforcing the report too. After they went to that 1-4 start, since that 1-4 start, the Steelers have been 7-1 since then, 8-5 record, no doubt about. Just a tremendous galvanizing of the talent around him as we look at it. But I mean, you gotta say this is exciting times right now. I was on the record saying prior to this season, I said to my cousin, a couple of friends around me, I had feelings that this season was going to be like the ingredients of like the 2013 season in some ways. I wasn't saying they were going to go 0-4, but when you lose those first 3 games of the season like he did and avoid going to 0-4, I mean, he did go 1-3, but then 1-4, I mean, it was pretty freaking scary at that point in time. And the guts that they had to do for Kevin Colbert, I mean, Mike Tomlin, I mean, had to have a meeting of the minds, of course, with Art Rooney and everyone. I mean, to make the decision, to make the trade for Minkah Fitzpatrick. And like I said, I mean, it's paying off dividends right now. Look at it this way. You're a number 6 seed right now as it stands. At the season we're at the end of the day, the Steelers would be in the playoffs as a number 6 seed. I mean, pending what happens tonight, of course. But again, and you're also number 1 in takeaways. 33 takeaways for the season. I mean, which is number 1, which includes 18 interceptions and 15 fumble recoveries. They're second in the league in interceptions, I believe, behind the New England Patriots. That is a lot to be said right there. And I really do. I mean, you can't help but marvel at the job that Tomlin's done. I mean, definitely. I mean, no doubt about it. I think the way he definitely seals, I mean, coach of the year is by getting this team to the playoffs. You finish the job right there, and we'll see what happens. But for right now, I mean, you got to be encouraged by this. I mean, the Steelers, I mean, this is a season so far since they've been on their streak as of late, only slipping up to the Browns along the way on Thursday night. I mean, this is a team that's been clicking on all cylinders. I mean, as far as like on the defensive unit more so than the offense. I mean, you cannot underestimate and begin to fathom how much this has meant to everybody and what they have done and what they have encouraged people to like step up in this contest. And you got to be very proud of what they're doing right now. It's just very encouraging for the moment. And I just look at it as, like I said, you want to just concentrate on first getting into the playoffs. But I do believe if they get into the playoff, I mean, this defense has the making of a Super Bowl ingredient type team at the end of the day. I really think so. I'll go on the record as saying it. I know the Ravens are already locked up the AFC North back on Thursday night. I mean, against the New York Jets. But, I mean, think about it. You win this game tonight, you'll basically have at least one more game to try and clinch the playoffs. One more, just simple win, you're in. You'll get in there based on AFC conference record, which is one of the tiebreakers. Since the Steelers and Titans did not meet head-to-head, you would have no more than 4 losses at that point. I mean, if they win these next 2 in a row, they would be 8-3. The Titans right now had just a huge blow, if you ask me, to their playoff hopes. I mean, all they could just ask for is that the Steelers, fall to the Bills tonight. But like I said, you got a lot of exciting things right now. You got the color rush uniforms at a good time. I feel like when needed. Time to make their stretch run down the stretch. Again, for those of you just joined here on the Men of Steel podcast, this very special edition of this Game Day podcast, number to be reached once again is 312-209-2232. Again, that's 312-209-2232. Again, I can be followed on social media at Praj Richie, at Men of Steel CJR, Men of Steel Nation for Instagram, and Men of Steel Podcast for my other social media plugs on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube as we take a look at it currently and the Steelers right now. So let's take a look at some other stuff, surrounding, this game. You're going to be having all 3 siblings in this game locking up tonight in this contest as we look at them. That's another storyline for right now. As we look at it and everything right now, as you're going to be having, both the Steelers right now, as you're going to be having Terrell and Trey Edmunds going up against their sibling, Tremaine Edmunds of the Bills. And that's going to be an awesome story. I think that was one of the fewest times it's happened in the history of the NFL. It's very rare. Of course, they also had their dad, who also played in this league too, in here. But, he's an inside linebacker for the Buffalo Bills right now. And he's been a legit, he's been starting so far. He's pretty much started every game this year, 13 games. And not doing that, not too shabby either. Right now he's got 97 total tackles up to this point, which includes 56 solo, 41 assisted. Yeah, career high, so far in his first year, which is 121. But I tell you what, though, the only thing I will kind of watch out for with him is the tackles for loss. He's got 9 for the season, so he's got 4 more than he did the previous year. I think that's one guy, if I'm on the offense, I'm going to want to key in on and make sure Hodges gets a little bit of decent protection on here. Let's face it. Like I said, I think one guy who doesn't get enough credit on this offense or on this team is Shaun Sarrett. A lot of people were wondering how Shaun Sarrett was going to be taking over of a guy like Mike Munchak. Since he went over to the Broncos. You got this offensive line, who's been very solid characters on here. And well coachable. It kind of reminds me of the 08 Steelers on defense, the personalities, the characters right there. When you got Marquise Pouncey, David DeCastro, Ramon Foster, Alejandro Villanueva right there. When you really, look at it and what really boils down to. But anyway, I just feel right now when you look at it, from overall this season, and you got who would have thought that this year, when you really looked at everything, you'd only be having 2 out of your 4 captains available aside from Ben Roethlisberger, Roosevelt Nix, in Marquise Pouncey and Cam Hayward. Shaun Sarrett, I'm going to just say it once again, he deserves his respect for keeping this unit intact. Yes, I said it, and he does. He's definitely one of the key guys on here. If you ask me, this guy right here has just been able to keep this unit in place. And if you think about it too, the Steelers, in this game going into this, when you really look at it, one of the biggest things to point out, when you look at it, they've only given up 22 sacks for the year, which is the sixth most, I mean, the sixth least allowed. So that's a damn good job that they're doing right now with this offense. And like I said, having a good offensive line is like having good car insurance when you're driving. You always want to be protected at home or on the road or whatever you got to do. And like I said, I think those are things to really pay attention to right here. I don't think he gets enough accolades in that regard. But one of the biggest things too, I mean, let's just focus on tonight right now. Again, if you want, feel free to dial up the phone lines, questions, comments, or answer. If you want to tune into the live stream, just search the Men of Steel podcast Facebook page. Once you find it and you like it, you can also search for it by @Men of Steel Nation. That's capital M, capital S, capital N. As we're continuing to go a little bit more further into this game day edition of the Men of Steel podcast. Let's also keep you a little bit of an update on some scores right about now. Steelers still need to be aware of, but I mean, their season's about ready to count down. But let's take a look at some other pending scores across the lead. Right now, you got the Oakland Raiders right now playing their very final game in the black hole in the Oakland Coliseum right now. And before they make the move to Las Vegas, I just wanted to say a quick note real quick to the Raiders real quick before we go a little bit further. I got to say this. As dirty, as intense as they were over all the years, I mean, in the eyes of a lot of Steelers fans, I mean, a lot of the dirtiness from the earlier days. I mean, if you really think about those Steelers and Raiders, that was the pre-existing Steelers and Ravens tone that really set the table. I mean, of a true rivalry. I mean, aside from like Bears-Packers, I mean, at the end of the day, the Raiders, before they go move to Las Vegas, this will be their third time they'd be moving in the franchise. Remember, they moved to Los Angeles back in 1982. They stayed over there for 13 seasons before they came back to the black hole. They did a special on NFL on CBS this morning with the pregame. James Brown was interviewing a lot of the guys on there too when you really look at it. But man, oh man, I mean, it was when you really look at it. I mean, it was just definitely been an interesting thing as we see a lot more with it. But yeah, I just I can't help but say at the end of the day, they helped raise the level of the game. I think for the Steelers in their contest when you really look at it. And like I said, I think right now, I mean, at the end of the day, they raised our level of competition as far as like being like a true rivalry, just competition wise. Got a lot of respect for them, a lot of admiration. I mean, it's sad to see like a team. I can't even imagine the feeling haven't moved on such significant times. And the founder of it was Ron Rivera, as a matter of fact. They were talking about how back in 1994, when they were anticipating the return of the Raiders back to Oakland, as they were getting ready to leave Los Angeles and the Coliseum too in LA, which are also sharing with the USC Trojans. I mean, they saw like on TV of the Dog Pound fans of the Cleveland Browns, and they got the idea from right there. Why don't we do something like that? Like have like our own little get our costume, our little get up, our own little attraction, and we'll call it something. They went back and forth on a few names, but they went with the black hole. So it's been like a big time tradition ever since they're right at the end zone when you look at it. And man, I just gotta just tell you, just definitely, arguably, one of the most passionate fans right there. You gotta respect in the world of like football sports, football fans, and yellow sports fans in general. They do got that respect. I will give them that. Like I said, it's a totally different universe. I mean, looking at it from it, but at the end of the day, I mean, we're here right now, enjoying this the countdown, as you will, to the Steelers and Bills showdown as we get ready to get a little bit more closer and a lot more stuff heated up going on right now. Remember, just a little breakdown of the Steelers in the color rush uniforms. 5-0 so far in them. Played one of their best and memorable games in those uniforms. Hope I'm not going to keep knocking on the wood, but like I said, let's keep that run going tonight. Let's keep it going. Let's find a way to just continue to make some plays and like stay in this right now. It's just a lot more. We're not out of the woods just yet, but I tell you, win this game, you get some separation in the wild card playoff race, and we'll see what happens. So right now, let's get ready to get into the Buffalo Bills injury report too. Bills right now have two of their starters, but they seem like they should be good to go in today's contest. You got running back Frank Gore, who's been dealing with an illness. And then, of course, you got defensive tackle Jordan Phillips, who had a knee injury. He's been bailing. He was limited on Thursday, but was a full participant on Friday. So both of those guys anticipate going for this contest, and we'll see what happens. So far, I have not heard the Steelers inactives for tonight's game, but definitely will keep that posted. I will try and tweet it out before the kickoff of tonight's game as we get closer to this, as we look at everything. All right, now, like I said, as I mentioned, let's go keys to the game. Number one key of the game, James Conner and Benny Snell on offense need to be the dynamic duo on the run and script and the catch. James Conner had 632 scrimmage yards for the season, while Benny Snell has 343, which is third amongst his running back pecking order right there on his team. I mean, James Conner, who's been battling the shoulder injury, I mean, you saw what happened last time when he came in there and he tried giving it a go. I mean, he got hurt like rather quick in that contest when losing to the Browns on Sunday night. But at the same time, he still leads the squad in touchdowns right now with 6 total touchdowns for scrimmage, 132 touchdowns for 632 yards, averaging 4.8 yards. And then you got Benny Snell, like I said, who has 343 yards, which includes 320 rushing yards. And right now, I mean, for the rushing on that, amongst his running backs, he has the third most amongst his running back duo, where he's averaging 4.0 yards per carry. So that's something that's pretty impressive right there. I got Shuja Ali. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. Welcome to the Metal Steel Podcast. Thank you very much for joining in. Henry, thanks a lot, my man. Glad to have you aboard as well. As we get ready to count down, hopefully to another memorable night and move a step closer to clinching this playoff spot. If they do take care of business tonight, I think you can make it a lot easier on yourself by next week. Like I said, I'm pretty sure it's a win and you're in because, like I said, you will go 8-3 for the AFC conference record. And that will be saying an awful lot right there. Anytime you got an opportunity to clinch faster, especially a playoff, a wild card, or a divisional spot. I'm not saying it's a division this year, but you want to get that as early as you can, as often as you can. I don't care where you're at. I mean, yeah, it's always going to leave for debate, like who you could start resting. But I'm just saying, in general, you want to be able to keep that up. You want to make sure at the same time you can always like get that out of the way early. Let's go with key number 2 in this game. Minimize the penalties on defense. Steelers have been slammed with 98 penalties for 983 yards, and where they're allowing 10 yards per penalty. That has got to stop. I didn't get a chance to look into what further a lot of those penalties have been around, but that's going to be very alarming if you're a Steeler fan in this game. You gotta stay out of trouble. I mean, a lot of people have been saying, like guys like Tunchokin or Craig Wolfley, people who make the least mistakes right now probably will end up winning this ball game. And I could definitely agree with that. I could definitely adhere to that. And I just want to be very careful because they do have enough of unluckiness of them creeping up at the wrong time. So we'll see how that goes. And then last but not least, key number 3, contain Josh Allen and flush him inside the pocket. He has 439 yards rushing, which is third amongst QBs, and he averages 33.8 yards per game. But however, on the defensive side, when you look at the Steelers' run defense, I mean, going into this game, they are eighth in stopping the run as they've only given up 1,315 yards per game. The Bills, on the other hand, has given about 6 more yards than the Steelers, which is ninth in the league. So if there's one thing right there, I'm going to look at my Steelers run defense right there. I'm going to look at my run stoppers in there, whether it is Devin Bush or like a Mark Barron right there to really put some pressure on that run game right there. Or you probably look at a guy like maybe a Javon Hargrave or Cam Hayward. I'm looking at a lot more of those guys right there. I mean, when you look at it. So again, I mean, when you look at like the defense and where it's all positioned at, I'm really calling upon guys big time in here. I'm looking at Mark Barron. I'm looking at Devin Bush. And of course, on the defensive front, I'm looking at Javon Hargrave and Cam Hayward to be your run stoppers tonight in this contest, and we'll see where it goes. But anyway, that's going to bring it to a wrap for this edition of the Men of Steel podcast. Hopefully, we can have a little bit more good news later on today as we get ready to count down the Sunday night game, like I said, which is about right now, about 2 hours and 26 minutes away, under 2.5 hours away as we get ready to count down for an epic, hopefully historic night. This is the Men of Steel podcast. Once again, you can follow me on social media, on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Twitter, you can follow me at Prodigy Richie, at Men of Steel CJR. Also got a Twitter page for my show. I also host on CSR, ChicagolandSportsRadio.com, which is another Facebook page show that I'm a part of. On Deck, you can follow that Twitter page at On Deck CSR. Instagram, Men of Steel Nation, that's all lowercase. And of course, my YouTube channel, Men of Steel Podcast. As always, leave it. Don't be trolling, be rolling. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. I gone.